that roar when you ran out just puts goosebumps on the back of your neck.
Moss went straight through. Ezra's there.
He's just forever looking for an opportunity.
Exhilarating football.
That's a good sign of a good team.
Accelerates and punches through them.
And he's only going to get better.
And the hammer stands them up. And Queensland going to do it again.
Hi there, welcome to this week's edition of Queenslander, where we analyse all things in the NRL and also give you a few fast food recommendations, boys. Last week, that chat on the chips went viral. Someone even did a Twitter poll the last time I checked. I think it was KFC and Red Rooster nudging each other with just Macca's behind. And someone even commented too in the comments on our YouTube page that grilled was hard done by. I know there's a grilled near you, Locky.
Yeah, right.
Give it a good nudge.
Yeah, Grill's got good chips. They do the sweet potato chips as well, but
yeah,
geez, we're giving everyone a run, haven't we?
We've got to get a sponsor by the end of this, surely.
But yeah, so we weren't. By the sounds of it, we were all KFC, sort of Red Rooster. Who did you pick, Wal?
I think I went for KFC.
Yeah, and a bit of old school takeaway, seafood takeaway shop for Wal. But we'll get into the footy.
We're in the money, yeah.
Yeah, some food for thought, if you will, for the Broncos at the moment with their captain out injured for an extended period. Adam Reynolds looks as though probably 14 weeks he'll be out for. Yeah. Locky, how big a blow is that for them?
Oh, it's huge. I think, he gives them so much direction on the field, and his kicking game is pretty much as good as, just behind Nathan Cleary's in the game. So it's a big spot to fill, but sort of one door closes, another one opens. So I think it's an opportunity for the Broncos to look at the future beyond Adam, and I think what will happen is, as we saw for a small period of time the other night, when you lose someone like Adam, everyone knows around them they have to lift. So if they'll have to compensate for Adam's loss, that means everyone needs to get 1 or 2% more out of themselves individually.
Do you think they can still make the top 4 or with Adam Reynolds out?
Yeah, I think they can. It's certainly a challenge when you lose your chief playmaker and organiser. That's a guarantee that the other guys are going to have to lift themselves. It'll be interesting to see who sort of takes over the leadership in play roles and also calling the plays. I think Paddy Carrigan, is one of those guys that has responsibility like that. But there'll be plenty of people suggesting that the Broncos won't be as good now without their chief playmaker. I guess only time will tell, but it certainly is a rather large challenge to put in front of the players.
A lot of pressure, Locky, will fall on the shoulders of Ezra Mam. He's still only 21. Is he up to that responsibility?
Oh, look, I think this period will help him grow as a footballer. I think I saw a glimpse of it the other night when Adam went off. Ezra sort of took over, took a bit of control of the team, and that was good to see. Jock, we don't know if Jock's going to be back this week. It looks unlikely. So, again, it's an opportunity for certain players to grow and evolve. And I think, you said Paddy Carrigan, we talked about how he had to, step up or, when Payne wasn't there, and he did that. So now he now takes the captain, the captaincy, and he needs to, lead by example. And I think with Ezra, whether he's in the 6 or the 7, is now going to be the more experienced half in the team. So he's going to have to, impose himself more on the game, and we'll get to see, what he's capable of. Yeah,
you like to see your chief playmaker making the calls all of the time, and obviously that's been in the number 7 jersey up until this stage of the year. Do you have the confidence in Ezra that he's going to be able to take over that? I mean, a lot of people, probably think he's a little bit of a quiet fella on the field, but they haven't got to see that he's got that skill.
I think Jock will take the number 7 jersey. Whether he's ready this week or not, we don't know. But I feel that Ezra will, definitely not step out of his comfort zone, but he'll definitely come out of his shell a bit because he has to. Yeah. And I think Jock will, he'll take the responsibilities on of getting the team around the park, getting his kicking game right. And the one thing I know with Adam is, even though he's injured, he'll be around the team and he'll want to coach, because that's where he wants to go after he retires anyway. So, Jock's going to get the best coaching from a game management point of view from Adam.
And they're saying potentially round 22, round 23 for Adam Reynolds. Well, it's hard to look at a positive, but one positive would be after his injuries throughout the season, he had a hammy, had a knee, now he's got that biceps injury, that if they can keep themselves in finals contention, they get Reynolds back fresh a month out for the finals. That is, in a way, is a positive.
Oh, I think he'll be fit. There's no doubt about that. He's got a very painful arm injury, but I still think that we'll be seeing a fair bit of him, and he'll be making sure that he's fully fit when he comes back. The arm one, I've never had one. I've never really known anybody that's had one, so I don't sort of understand how difficult that would be to overcome. But certainly in the playmaker's role, it's going to be part of his game. But I think I've enjoyed watching him play since his time at the Broncos began, and I think he's one of those guys that he'll certainly not be short of determination and the will to win when he comes back, and with full knowledge that he'll be doing the best he possibly can to be 101% fit when he makes his return.
Well, as history shows, and we mentioned it before, Adam, top four is pretty critical to winning the premiership, and we got Origin coming up, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge in the short term for the Bronx, and I think over Origin period, so if they can really sort of knuckle down and focus on getting the best out of themselves over the next couple of months, putting themselves in a position where they can still within reach of the top four, and then know that Adam's coming back. That needs to be the mindset.
Yeah, definitely, that's the key. They've got to stay in the top 8, and then the last month they get him back, jag a few wins, maybe try and get into the top 4.
And you really need a communicator. Yeah, that's the thing that a leader is all about: calling the plays, working out what's absolutely necessary, seeing when things aren't quite going right, making an alteration to the game. So it'll certainly be a maturing program for him, and I think it'll be quite exciting to see the way that he takes it on.
Interesting to hear him talking post-match, Adam Reynolds. He said he came to the trainer, he reached down, he said, I can't feel my bicep straight away. Like, I have that problem every week because I don't have any biceps there, but Adam Reynolds a little bit different. So, to see the instant pain on him, you knew it was something significant.
Without a doubt, I when he made that tackle, I heard a noise. Right?
Yeah, okay.
I was sitting on the sideline.
On the opposite side,
On the opposite side. And I just thought, sometimes you'll hear the contact of a tackle. You just hear... But and I asked him after the game, I said, when that happened, did that make a loud noise? He goes, it made a massive noise, like a pop noise. And I heard it where I was sitting. So I knew when he reeled for his arm, I thought, it's like, because you can hear an Achilles. When an Achilles goes, and I think a bicep tendon is very much the same. And I could hear it from the other side of the field.
Yeah, we wish him the best with his recovery there. Adam Reynolds after undergoing surgery earlier this week. Down at the Titans, the big talking point is David Fifita's contract. It looks very likely, from what we're hearing, is to leave at season's end. Locky, how devastating would that be for Gold Coast, who are trying to build a group?
Yeah, I think, you got the Panthers and you've got the Roosters, They're the two teams. I mean, the Roosters have had a bit of not a clean out, but they've created some money in their salary cap, and so the Panthers must have done the same. I mean, they've obviously been...
James Fisher-Harris leaves, frees up his money.
So obviously they've got money to spend, where I think the Titans probably, at the moment they're probably valuing more, but they can't offer him any more than what it is. And I think, by all reports, it's nearly half of what the other clubs are offering him. So, he's willing to test the market. And look, if you're going to leave a club and you've got the Penrith Panthers or the Roosters, it's pretty attractive.
Yeah.
Because you're going to a good system, you're going to a good culture, so you're going to get the best footy. And that's nothing against the Titans, but obviously I just don't think that they've got the money available like the Roosters and the Penrith.
And also going to a couple of clubs, Locky, that have got handy coaches that really have made players perform at a good level without being disrespectful to the ones he'll be leaving. So it'll be quite interesting. And when you're getting sort of a top dollar and you're joining the top teams in the competition, it's pretty hard to knock that back.
Who would you guys choose? If you had to choose tomorrow, you're Fifita, Panthers, Roosters or Titans. If that's me, I choose Panthers because of Nathan Cleary. They have the best playmaker in the competition. He's going to get the best out of me. So I go Panthers.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look at the back rows that have been through that system, they've all done very well. Kickow, obviously, there's always been talent, but you would sort of put Fifita in Kickow's mould. You know, big, strong, athletic, and Kickow was outstanding at the Panthers. And so, you know, where does when Luai leaves, who goes to 6? Because that'll be another factor in your decision too.
Yeah, who you play outside of.
Playing outside of. But if you're on the same side that Nathan plays, then you're going to see some good footy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Locky on the Panthers, the strength that they do have, and it's while the name is Cleary's there, I see there's 2 names of Cleary that are both just as valuable to his ability on the field as a coach. Coach Cleary, I see that as being one of the real bonuses that the Panthers have had. I don't think he's got too much credit or enough credit as a coach, the way that he's been able to improve the performances of each and every player in the Penrith side. And they've got a pretty handy captain and halfback as well, chief playmaker. So they've got the best of both worlds there. The decision-making process is open.
And at the peak of his contract, Fifita was earning around $1 million a year at the Titans. Has he been value for money, Locky?
Look, I think even if you ask Dave, he hasn't. I don't think he's when you're over $1 million a season. I don't think he's achieved that. And there's been a combination of factors. The team hasn't been going that great. He's had some injuries, all of that. But I would assume that he would be thinking the same, that he probably thought he would have done more at the Titans in his time. And we don't know if that time's over, but
yeah.
I just think, I think there's more in David, and we've seen that in the past, and we've seen what he's capable of, but I don't think he's done it enough regularly to warrant the salary he's been on.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to say, and without being disrespectful, I think on the money that he was earning, I don't think Dave would probably put his hand up and say, "You've got value for dollar here." I've earned every cent. He's one of those guys that loves to be a powerful performer when he gets the opportunity every time he runs onto the paddock. But you've only got to have a look at the results that they've had on the Gold Coast, and I think Fifita himself probably would say, if I could rate myself, could I get any better? He'd probably come up with yes, 7 days a week.
Yeah, and I guess it's not his fault that he was getting paid $1 million a season.
No, it's not. No. I just think he when he went there, he would have thought, he'd look back now and go, it could have been better.
Yeah. That's what I just feel like. If you're going to play a player $1 million a season, they have to have an impact on a game. Like, they have to be a fullback or a halfback or Cameron Smith as a hooker. Do you kind of tend to agree? It's hard to justify paying a back row $1 million in modern day league.
And again, it's not Dave's fault. He earned that money on the back of his potential and what he's capable of, and and if you like you say, the key playmakers, well, $1 million players now are going to become more and more, they're going to happen a lot more now, given the salary cap going up. You know, like we're talking, Callum Ponga, 1.3, 1.4 million. So $1 million players are going to become more and more the norm as we move forward. But, I just think that Dave, and again, the club would have felt that they would have got more out of Dave, and Dave probably felt like he would have got more out of himself.
If he does go, that does free up a lot of money. Where do they need to invest in? Well, like a halfback, you think that's a glaring part? They need to invest more in their spine, the Titans?
Yeah, I think so. And you've got a guy that's in charge as a coach who was a good playmaker himself, a good ball runner himself. So he's certainly going to have a fair idea on what is needed. Who the players are that he could see as being beneficial to the side. So I probably see that this though is quite a regular problem. We seem to be talking about it every year, and I've got to apologise there and say we should wait till the end of the year to make that decision. But there are a couple of previous occasions where they've had very similar difficulties.
I think the biggest thing for the Titans we've been talking about this for a couple of years as well, was like AJ Brimson has been outstanding at fullback, and Jaden Campbell is best position as fullback. At some point we've always been saying they've been trying to fit 5 players into a 4-man spine. Yeah. They need, and look, I think Kieran's only got a year or 2 to go. Yeah. So, who's their 7? And where does can you keep Jaden and AJ at the Titans? That's the question.
And the problem is when we've had those players going into those positions, Locky, they've only been there for a few matches. Injuries have come forward or they've had a change of positions, and when there's not any consistency there, that makes it pretty difficult to expect that that's going to be a glorious run all the way through the season.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. They need to make a tough decision. Are we going AJ or are we going Jaden? Just make the big decision there. Further north, up at Redcliffe, we're allowed to say they're from Redcliffe, the Dolphins, going quite well, 4th on the ladder, but the talk won't go away that Wayne Bennett is heading to the Rabbitohs. Given they're going so well, Locky, do you think part of them maybe regret having a succession plan? That they would have liked to have had Wayne at the Dolphins a couple more years, the way it's turned out?
Well, I guess if you look at history, the succession plan behind Wayne hasn't been that successful.
Yeah.
But, Wayne took this on, I think he went to the South, took him to a grand final and had Jason Demetria there to come in behind him. And then he had a year off, he had a gap year. But I think it's been, when he goes to an expansion club, it's great for the game because it brings profile, but it also brings stability, and he's done that. The Dolphins have come into the competition seamlessly, and so, I reckon they would have some sort of reservations about him leaving, but I know Kristian can coach, and I think they would have got a bit of confidence out of when they beat the Eels in Darwin, but it is you're filling big shoes, and. He's done a great job again for the game and for the Dolphins, Redcliffe.
Yeah.
To get them to where they are, and look, wherever he goes, he all he does is he brings more eyeballs to our game, which is what I think's it's great having him involved at this age.
Yeah. And it's always been the Bennett curse. Jason Demetrio fell victim to it as well. It happened at the Knights, I think, with Rick Stone. Was it Ivan Henjak at the Broncos? Anthony Seibold again at the Broncos.
Steve Price
at the Dragons, yeah. But
hope you're not listening, Kristian.
Yeah. Kristian Woolf, are you confident that won't happen to the Dolphins? Well, I guess you can't be confident, but why do you think it won't happen maybe at the Dolphins?
Oh, look, it's... I think they've got some good players, good solid players in hand that are plenty of volunteer workers in the club, and I think they've probably given themselves a great opportunity and a chance to gain self-confidence as they go along. It won't happen there. Well, to be honest, I've got no idea whether it will or won't. But certainly they do have a number of players there. Probably do need 1 or 2 more in key positions to give them genuine stability in their every game performances, but only time will tell. If I knew the answer to that one, I'd be going out and filling out gold lotto forms every night and hoping that I was going to be able to do it. But it's when you see the previous and what we're working with after Bennett, there's not too many that have ever been successful. So there will be plenty suggesting that's going to happen again.
Well, I think the biggest thing that an apprentice coach should do under Wayne is watch how your man manages. Because I think that's the biggest... You have an environment where he's managing the people, managing the players, to play for each other, play for the coach and the club. If you lose that man management aspect, then it starts to become very difficult to keep everyone aligned with where you're going. So I think that's the biggest thing, particularly at South. I think, man managing someone like Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker, Wayne does it better than anyone. So, if you're watching him and you want to study him, it's not about tactics, it's about how you manage people.
Were there guys at the Broncos who had to be man-managed when you were there? Maybe Wendell?
Oh yeah, there was an abundance of people that need to be man managed. But he tailored his approach to every individual based on the personality they were. So how he handled Wendell Sailor was completely different how he handled Mick De Vere. How he handled Alan Langer was pretty much the same as how he handled Kevin Walters, but completely different of how he had to handle someone like Michael Hancock. But he finds the individual and tailors his approach to that individual based on their personality. So it's not an easy thing to do, but I think as a coach, if you're watching under him, you need to nail that, because if you don't, then that's where things can come unstuck.
Yeah, you're dead right, Locky. It's not an easy thing to do at all. But Bennett doesn't jump into that immediately. He takes his time and his assessment of players and what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, how they can be more creative, how they can fit into the team a lot more. I think that he tends to make that decision on each of those at a very casual basis. He doesn't race in, so he knows that when he comes up with that decision, it's the correct one, or the one that he's had the best chance of possibly making. And I think if there's any good things along the way, he's been incorrect in very few of those.
He's had 80 years experience of it too.
I think what bodes well for Kristian Woolf taking over is that it's an expansion club, and he's been there since day one. They've known the succession plan since day one. It's a constant voice that the players have already heard, and then he's coming in to take over. And if you watch training, Wolfie does 90% of the training, and Wayne does what you said, the man management skills.
Yeah. So the 90% of it. So obviously he takes over that, 100% of the tactics and getting the team ready, but don't underestimate that 10% management. Yeah.
So hopefully it works
I still remember Bennett talking about it, and when he was asked, where did you get it from? And he said that he had a lot of time where he was mixing with Jack Gibson. Yeah. And also the vision that he had of American football and the coaching over there, where there were guys that they had 2 or 3 coaches in their defensive coaches and attacking coaches, but Bennett said it was what he learned from that in his ability to be able to deal with one problem or an issue, whilst another coach was simply taking care of other areas of the team that needed a little bit of assistance.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Given how big the NFL squads are and how much proliferation there is in the NRL now, going from like 17 player squads to 30. So maybe that's a key reason why he's been successful. He usually takes a few players to new clubs. Would you be worried if you're the Dolphins of Bennett taking a few players to the Rabbitohs? The thing is, not a lot of them are off contract.
Yeah, I feel like he's got, given where the Redcliffe has come from. Yeah. I feel like he's got a respect for them, that he wants them to keep growing as an organisation and as a club, as a competitive club. It'd be different if they'd won a couple of grand finals by now. He might have tried to pick a couple
pick the eyes out of them.
I genuinely think he knows that they're a club that's just starting their journey, and I was a part of it at the start, but I don't think he would want to sink the boot in at any point.
Oh, no, I agree with you there, Locky. And he's enjoyed his time so much at Redcliffe, the way that he's got on with the people there. And he's also had a fair association with a few former Redcliffe people that he had the opportunity to do some discussions with and have respect for, such as Dick Turner, Tosser Turner. And the team that Tosser used to work with. It was almost a 5 or 6 man army there that used to make the decisions, and that decision-making process turned it out to be the basis of a good, strong club.
How good would it be? They're 4th at the moment if they sneak into the finals, Locky. That storyline, Wayne Bennett's last year at the Dolphins for a top 8 finish.
Oh, look, I don't think Wayne would be telling his players to try and make the most of his last year there, but I think the players would be talking about it, so he's obviously, once you get coached by him, and I know not everyone has the same experience, but they start to respect him, and they want to play for him. And I think this being his last year, they want to give him some reward for his effort.
And a team that doesn't look like they're a finals contender at the moment, my Cowboys, struggling, won their first 3 games of the season, 4-game losing streak at the moment, What's gone wrong up in North Queensland?
You know, I really don't know, Adam. I've been watching them, and I have a real interest in their performances every week. They really do appear to be going onto the field in a it mightn't be the right thing to do, but almost a confused state. I've watched a couple of the ways that they've started the games, and I don't think two of them have been identical.
Yeah.
They've been pretty strange, where they're almost a little bit lost. Now, I don't know whether they had a particular pattern of play that they were relying upon when they got out in each of those games, and very determined to stick to those. But certainly there really did appear to be a severe lack of confidence as they took to the field. I'm not really sure, you know, whether that's close. I mean, it could be completely different. The players may have some ideas on what's gone wrong, but to be honest, I did expect them to be performing far better than they have been this year.
I think some teams, they do too much ball work. So they do all these fancy moves and fancy plays at training, and you know, it all looks good, feels good, and they get to game day and they want to do these things. I think there's a few teams out there, and I would say the Broncos have been a little bit guilty of late. They need to get back to basics and just, play really simple football early and just build pressure, create fatigue in the opposition, and then just let it happen. I think teams just start to try and force it too early, and in my opinion, Cowboys have been guilty of that. Broncos have. There's a few other teams out there that are guilty of it as well. You need to, get back to really bringing it back to the basics and keeping it simple.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Locky. It's, when you make mistakes or you're not able to do it 2 or 3 games in a row, one of the first things that the coach will say, or certainly I know I used to, was come up with something like, let's keep it as easy as possible. I'm talking 100 years ago, where it used to be the old to the open, won the blind backs ball, and we used to ridicule that. But when you were in a position of turmoil and confusion, that wasn't such a bad idea, because you knew, and all of the players were very well aware of, they had to fit into that pattern of play in a set position, and it gave them an opportunity to fit into those spots and feel quite comfortable doing it. And whilst they were in there, they were rarely going to be in a confused position or out of that spot.
I think something's wrong with Val Holmes. Watching him play, he is woefully out of form at the moment. And as a Queenslander, I'd have reservations in the lead up to Origin. I know he's always performed for the Maroons, but I don't know if he's injured or something, but just watching him on the weekend against the Dolphins, a lot of the tries the Dolphins scored were on his side, which is a surprise, because he's usually so reliable.
Well, who's inside and outside him? Because that sometimes can play a part.
So Semi Valame is the newer winger, because Murray Taulagi is still out, potentially back this week or maybe next week. That'll help.
Yeah. So communication is obviously critical in defence, and if you're getting different players playing inside and outside, that can sort of take a bit of confidence away from you. But look, defence wins games, right? So if you're defending with an attitude where you particularly on your own try line, if you can turn teams away, that's a great sign of attitude. But equally, you want to try and build fatigue in the opposition. The way you do that is just hold on to the footy and get your kicks away. Every time you make an error, you take the pressure off, you give the opposition a rest. And you're not, there's so many great players in the Cowboys that can score points, but they're not breaking down the opposition first.
Yeah, I think they get sucked into that of, they might score 30, but we've got 32 in it. And that works once every 4 games, but it's not a consistent way to win NRL games. And I know Todd Payten was really angry, and he said they were outworked against the Dolphins. Is that kind of like on Locky's point, an attitude thing, being outworked?
Well, I guess only the players can tell us the answer to that one, but it didn't appear as though that they had either a lot of understanding or a lot of belief in the plays that they were putting into effect throughout the course of the game. And Mal, I've got to say, I've become, as you know, a massive fan of his over the years, particularly with my time spent in Townsville. Love watching him play, and he's a guy that has a will to win, a determination to succeed, and has rarely been in a state where I think the disappointment in his own performance has become quite obvious. So maybe it's the best thing to happen for him. He'll go out and produce a beauty this weekend, and I'm sure there's a lot of people hope that that's certainly the case.
And I think it's a Queensland derby for the Cowboys this weekend against the Titans down the Gold Coast. So Cowboys really need to win that one. It all kicks off the coverage Thursday night down the road at Suncorp Stadium. DC and the boys travel there to take on the Dolphins. Then Friday night, Broncos against the Eels. Plenty of Queensland teams in action on Nine's Wide World Sports. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week.
This year, NRL on 9 is your one-stop shop for all footy.
That's right, Freddie. Not about the highlights. Action. 7 days a week.
Billy and Gus podcast. Get that on your drive on the way home. Immortal Behaviour. Grab a seat on the couch for that. And, of course, my favourite, Freddie in the 8.
The best footy brains, the biggest games.
Don't trust the algorithm. Subscribe to NRL on 9 and get all your entertainment there.